Okay, what is up, everybody? It's your girl Nico the Odd, and we are back with more of The Letter. It's an indie game that is a visual novel and amazing so far. I am 3 chapters in because I'm at the end of 1 chapter. If you were with me when I played last night, which I had a little bit of a late stream after I got done with doing my tabletop yesterday, I screwed up. I got Zach killed, but I refused to let him stay dead. And I was gonna go back to an old save, which I accidentally saved over because I hit the save button right there instead of the load button right there. So I had to go play through it again, which could have took me all like 5 minutes to do last night, but I didn't realize that because I could have just sped through everything. But anyway, I'm not gonna read this part right here, but we're gonna choose a different option than what we chose last night, and we're gonna make sure the precious boy survives. Also, too many games, not enough Punani. Yeah, I guess I'll be okay with reading that name. Thank you for that follow. I hope you are enjoying your day. We'll just go ahead and speed through this part of it because I read that stuff last night. Alright, so this is where we were. I chose look through, enter the open window, and that does not give our boy a good end. And yeah, honestly, Zach deserves better. That, and I had already declared that I was going to try to get a completely okay run for everybody. So that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to keep looking for Ash. Already need water. H2O. In the end, the rational part of my brain wins out. The half that has spent too much time around Ash. It's right, though, the reasonable part. If I do force myself in... Sorry, I got distracted. There are some changes that happen to OBS, which I'll just go ahead and say this before I continue reading this sentence. That OBS now allows you to see what is your chat and your stream information in OBS. So, yay, that's actually going to make life easier on me for those times that my stuff is messing up a little bit on me. I need to clean it up a little bit, but yep, there we go. That is working. Excellent. If I do force my way in and find something unpleasant, how am I going to fight back? With my camera? No matter where you look at it, it's simply asking for a painful death. And he's not wrong, because that's what he got.
I have a better chance if I find Ash. What is he snooping about?
Perhaps I should try the forest. Make a round farther into the gardens? Not a sound plan, but it's better than nothing. The woman's soft sobs have subsided now, by some means. Anyway, almost inaudible to the point where I'm wondering if I truly heard what I heard. I didn't get to dwell on it though, because right at that moment my phone rings. The sharp notes piercing through the thick quietude. I clamp a hand over it, pressing the buttons before the speaker and its. Let's see. I clamp a hand over it, pressing the buttons before the speakers are close to my ear.
Are you?
I only caught the tail end of the person's greeting on the other side, but I know the voice very well.
What was that, Ash? Could you repeat that? Signal shitty here.
I asked, where are you? Hell, Zach, I've been calling your number for a good 20 minutes now. What kind of shithole did you get into?
Good morning to you, too. I should be asking you that question. I've been looking all over the mansion for you. I thought you'd be...
What mansion?
Do I really need to answer that?
Why are you even... No, wait. Just get your ass here at Isabella's place, and hurry.
I shift my gaze into the mansion, specifically the window I heard the cries from. There's nothing of it now, not even echoes.
How urgent is this?
Pressing enough for you to stop asking questions and get yourself here. Please, Zach.
That gives me a pause. It's a rare thing for him to take on that tone.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two, tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
I rush back to my bike as soon as the call ends. Without another look, I leave the mansion along with its haunting melodies and grim echoes behind. There are more important things than my own curiosity and impulses. Okay, and now we are back at Marianne, which is where we were last night when I ended my late stream. 1 second. There's something about reading on Twitch where apparently my sinuses just have no patience for me to do it. I can go all day talking as much as I want to and never have to clear them, but in this I have to do it constantly. But let's get on with it. 7:15 p.m. The numbers are so little on the top of my screen. They glare at me with such intensity that I can just hear their accusations. I'm late for a night out with the girls, yes. But that's a perfectly good excuse, jeez. Considering I didn't follow typical office hours, they really can't expect me to be able to just go as I please after 5:30 on the dot. The client is first and foremost my priority. I have to sit tight when my personal assistant Chris tells me we have a big one coming up and that I shouldn't miss this one. He knows a lot more on the who's who and what's what when it comes to these socialites, and I trust that judgment call. I really don't have time for rich people, their drama, and their politics. These sort were born with a silver spoon in their mouths, and who were used to wagging their silver tongues about. I'll let him handle the negotiation with them for the most part. Why else would I have hired him? But he told me I'd receive a message about it an hour ago.
Now, if only he has the full shilling when it comes to the time.
Come on, I have a social life too, you know, to an extent. Sort of. Pressing my head against the table, I stave off an oncoming headache. I try to stave off an oncoming headache when this notification for a new email pops up. All I'm expecting is a hey, it looks like a good project I found. Go send them a design or something like that, really. That's how it goes often goes. Even when these rich, jammy clients who's heard of me from their equally rich, jammy friends, I can't expect them to hire me right off the bat. Which is all we need and good. Which is all well, good, and reasonable. We figure out what they want. I send them my portfolio, drafts for their projects, my rates, and hope for the best. This is big client Marianne. I'll babysit not saying her cat's name. We're calling her cat B. Her cat is B or Burr. I'm not saying that name. Just please take this one project. I promise this person is huge in Luxborn. Mr. Parker, this is a formal request to secure the services of Marianne McCullough, hereafter called the designer, as authorized by Hannah Wright, hereafter called the client, for interior design work at Ermengarde Mansion, Luxborn, LX 0RF, United Kingdom. The client hopes to have the designer there on the 21st of October, Friday, with a pending time. But as I open the mail, I see that I've already been requested by the client specifically. Well, I certainly didn't expect that, and it's pretty straightforward too. Anyone else would probably be excited. They would work They would be working with the Hannah Wright. She's just one of those rich socialites that everybody loves to talk about, no matter how hard I try to tune out such nonsense. It would have been enough for me to reply with an affirmative to Chris and leave, but he's never pleaded with me before to take a project. We've worked with big personalities in the past, celebrities, bankers, and even a few politicians. My PA has been indifferent about those. So the question bounced off my skull before I spied one of the email's attachments. A newspaper clipping for the Luxborn Daily's business news section, posting a headline: Wright Enterprises donates $2.5 million to refuge. Certainly caused quite the stir. Certainly caused quite the stir back then. Apparently, they had invested businessmen and socialites everywhere in the guise of being some sort of business announcement.
$2.5 million and an expensive-looking party to boot. These people sure know how to throw their money around. Not
that I should be so callous. They're going they're going to do a lot of good and help community of people with all those pounds. I, of all people, shouldn't criticize such acts whether they are for show or not. At the very least, I know that they'll be able to pay my rates. With the headline out of the way, however, I find myself staring at the picture that came along with the clipping. Because, wow. Here I am expecting sour old woman in a blazer and a skirt. But the woman that's plastered on the front page looks like she belongs on the front page of an entertainment section, or even, if I am to be crass, a pinup for a glamour. Okay, I'll be real here. It's a men's magazine. She sure knows how to rock that dress. Wait. Her hair, her eyes, her lips, it can't be her. And at the same time she is her, only several years older. And she looks just like... No, come on, Mac. The world's full of pretty blondes. It's just a coincidence. With a shake of my... Wait. I'm curious now. I am very curious now. What has happened here? Just a second, let me see what this is. Okay, that went away. It was blinking on my desktop. With a shake of my head, I snap out of it and reach for my phone when it buzzes, nearly falling off my chair in the process. Who else would be on the other line but the very people waiting for me?
Oh, piss. I'm so sorry, Cam. I'm on my way.
That's what I say. Yet I still don't move from my chair, face flushed and heart racing. I could only stare until I can will myself to reply that, yes, I'm accepting the assignment. It takes even more time for me to just close the image and shut down the computer and leave. Even then, it's already burned its image into my head, no matter how much I would wish it would just disappear. It makes me eager for alcohol and the company. It makes me eager for anything that can help me forget. It's a good thing that the nearest pub is just a hop, skip, and a jump from here. The Galway Shawl, as it is called by those who frequent the place, is the only decent Irish pub in this country. County, rather. Country? County? I don't know what that was. Actually, I'm actually curious. Wait, what was that word? County. Okay, it was county. You can pretty much tell someone's new if they call it by its official name, the Crawl Bar. My home away from home ever since I moved to Luxbourne. Well, that's when I'm not cooped up in my condo working anyway. It has good alcohol, good company, and thank God in St. Cecilia, good music. Crowd favorites like Bothy Noise, the High Welscian Men, and Second Fusion Orchestra are often played. Not to mention the singing. I love to sing. She didn't strike me as someone who liked to sing. Yeah, that's one that I wasn't expecting. Anyone could break out into a drink song, and others in the pub would just wonder what they'd started, and others in the pub were just wonderful that they start singing along. And doing so while intoxicated is the best way to go about it. Hey, it's a win-win as long as I don't puke in the middle of the chorus, and as long as I can get home in one piece at the end of the day. And tonight is karaoke night. What better time than to try to sing all my worries away? That's what my intoxicated brain tells me.
The ghost of guilt and sorrow remembers who I am, and in the prison of my heart, I was my only slave.
But drinking only reminds me of my home, and the thought of home makes me think of her.
But in the depths of my cold soul, I'll leave the burden and despair.
She ain't half bad, but I really was not expecting this. Also, she's still wearing gloves. Is that a thing? It makes me nauseous. It sickens me that the smallest reminder of her can cause such grief.
I'll fight for what's worth fighting for. Forget the fear, forget the rest.
Of course, that might just be the booze. Any other day, I would have scolded myself for drinking so much.
I lied to the Lord, I lied to myself, I lied to you and everyone I care, until there were no more lies to tell.
but I already have a client, and we'll be having our first little meet and greet in a few days.
Cowardice is easier than being brave, but at last I found the strength I lost to sing my love letter to you. 'Cause people can lie, but my lone heart beats true.
Want to at least enjoy this night, get over the hangover tomorrow, and return to being a prim and proper professional after.
That song was for Cam, our lucky bride to be. So give her hand, Galway shawl.
Considering the state I'm in, no one can excuse my smug grin as the cheers and applause rise among the pub's patrons. Because possibly off-key public singing aside, I feel I'm on top of the world right now, and that's a good reason. That's as good a reason as any to belt out in front of these strangers. With good drinks and good friends, there's nowhere else I'd rather be tonight. And I forget for a short while.
And that song was brought to you by Marianne McCullough, everyone! A round of applause!
That was so good. You rock, Marianne. Oh, please stop. You're just saying that.
You know neither of us can hold a tune, Marianne. A toast to our shameless drunk singer. May your drinks forever flow and your notes be ever lovely.
If anyone deserves a toast tonight, that's Cam. Finally sealed the deal after 3 years, eh? Read 'em and wait, bitches.
Kamala's diamond engagement ring gleams as she holds it up for all the world to see. She has reasons to be proud. 3 years of living together, her boyfriend finally asked her the big question. Obviously, she said yes.
Don't get too attached to that ring or the one after, sweetie. I was wearing a wedding ring not so long ago, and look at where I am. But enough of me being a downer. Cheers to a happy engagement!
Of course, if something like Haruna's divorce were to happen, I'd be there for Cam. Just like Cam had been there for me, acting more than just my yoga instructor. I can't be happier for my friend right now.
Cheers! Cheers.
Well, we're both there for Cam. We'll both be there for Cam, won't we? Haruna and I. Haruna, it's been a real bad year for her ever since her divorce. She's such a nice person, even loaning me money to open a studio when she didn't deserve what her husband had to pull. I'm happy she's smiling again and pigging out like she used to. I think we all missed that, our Japanese firecracker. We met in yoga class sometime I had joined. Oh God, I can't read today. We met in yoga class, something I had joined to keep myself in shape, and well, honestly, so that I can make friends. And when I moved to Luxembourg, clearly it has worked like a charm, and it definitely didn't have anything to do with the fact I brought along my lucky D20 die with me on the first day. So no, sir. Wow, this woman is full of surprises. This is not the woman I was expecting her to be. I love these girls so much.
What about you, Marianne? You're 30 years old and you still haven't got yourself a man. And you guys know I have a very busy schedule. I don't have time for that.
Oh, come on. That's a lame excuse and you know it. You need a man who will take care of you and you need it now. Maybe some hunk will be your house hubby while you rake in the dough.
I'm quite capable of taking care of myself. Who needs a Mr. Right? Hey, look at me, I'm Marianne McCullough, a lawful neutral cleric with 9 points in wisdom and 8 in charisma, but I can't get myself a date.
I'm sorry, the D&D nerd in me enjoyed that joke. I mentioned druids and demons once, and they don't even know the rules to understand what the numbers mean. And I am certainly not some sort of holy person. I'm a far cry from a miracle worker, and I barely have the willpower to fight off demons, especially my own.
Actually, maybe she isn't looking for a Mr. Right, but a Mrs. Right. Oh, my Marianne, we still love you even if you're in the closet.
That would explain some things. How do you know you don't have a ring anymore? Maybe you two can be together and I don't have to worry about my best girls being alone.
What are you on about? There's nothing to explain.
But the more I deny, the louder their tease until other people in the pub start to watch. It doesn't help at all when Haruna drapes her arms over my shoulder and leans in.
Will I be all yours then? Will you be making me feel like a woman?
Feel like a woman. I know they're just kidding. It doesn't make me comfortable in the slightest. So when Camilla notices my silence and Haruna sees the expression on my face, they stop. And when the awkward air settles over us, the rest of the pub goes back to what they were doing before the whole thing ever happened. They probably won't even remember it when they wake up with the massive hangovers anyway.
Sorry.
Me too.
Hey, no hard feelings, right?
I raise my glass. They smile. We drink. There's no need to say more. We're all definitely far too drunk tonight. Eventually the fun times end. It's weekday after all. With Haruna being a nurse, she still has to be ready. Still has to get ready for her next shift. Cam also has a loving fiance waiting for her at home, and really didn't have time to make a fuss about having left some buns in the oven when she took off. And really didn't have to make a fuss about having left some buns in the oven when she took off early. I really understand. I was the one who insisted, who was determined to get pissed drunk anyway. Moving to the bar, I sit. Alone at last. Alone with a stranger. I haven't seen him before, obviously not a regular. He hasn't said a word, just sits there and savoring his drink. This dude, the alcoholic. But whiskey served neat in one hand and a lighter in the other. It doesn't seem like he's noticed me yet, and maybe I should go before he looks my way. Because he's pretty. Because he was pretty, and he was blonde, and those things plus alcohol never did me any good. I thought too late. Judging by his flushed face and dazed look in his eyes, he's as pissed drunk as I am. Whereas I feel like keeling over, he looks like he's still ready to take the catwalk by the storm. Really, he just has the air of one whose men. Really, he just has the air of one of those men who thinks they own the world.
Hello there, sexy. Please don't stand up on my account. I already like what I see. Fancy a drink? It'll be on me.
Should be on him. But then again, I might be pleasantly surprised if he proves me wrong.
Want some between the sheets? Sex on the beach? I'm talking cocktails, of
my
course.
god, he's a scumbag. Bad chance. But it doesn't matter, we both know how to play this game. And there are two different ways to end the night. One thing or another is going to happen. The question is, what do I want to do?
Oh no, that's fine. I'd rather order some blue balls or some AMF if you don't mind.
Looks like he's about to say some witty retort, but he stops himself and downs the rest of his whiskey. I order a mint julep and he gets another whiskey, and we start the customary small talk. Of course, the saying, ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies, goes without saying. We ask nothing about each other, offering up falsehoods and establish a strenuous, fake connection between two strangers at a pub that, if only to pass the time. Whiskey, as I have come to call him, is supposedly 21 years old, single, takes care of his sick mother, and is the manager of some sort. Manager of what? I didn't care to listen to details. Meanwhile, Mint, as he's come to call me, is 29, and I'm... What did I say I was again? Oh yes, I told him that I was a professional chocolate taster because, fuck it. If I'm going to lie about my job, I might as well make it fun. It's a pretty decent chat between two pretty drunk strangers. And maybe it's just me. We might as fucking well extend the tiniest amount of effort to pretend that there's something meaningful to this meeting. Would have been nice too if it was just left at that. But during the lull of the conversation, he brings it up.
No, I've never been with a woman taller than me.
And to think he might have been different from the rest.
Never have and never will, whiskey. Can we go back to the history of chocolates? Did you know that chocolate candy was introduced in 19th century England as a healthier alternative to alcohol?
Yet here you are drinking in a bar with a man that's an ass. St. Lucy was the most beautiful woman of her time. She had men come from four corners of the world just to see the pure light of her exquisite green eyes. If she were so lucky, anyway.
No, enough of the history lesson. Come on, Mint. You know and I know what you came here for.
Man, he's a sleaze bag. Though not every suitor was gallant, she was no fool. She had known that sooner or later she would not be able to defend her chastity.
Come on. There must be something that gets you going.
So she had taken out a knife and gouged out her eyes.
There is something, but I don't think you can handle it.
Impressed with her devotion, God restored her eyes and made them more beautiful than before. He had a peculiar sense of humor, hasn't he? Because that only meant suitors kept going after Lucy. And she kept her eyes in a chalice to scare them away.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I can handle whatever it is.
God, he's a sleaze bag. St. Lucy, help me. Help me turn away from sin. Help me with my own blindness.
My place isn't too far from here. I won't take care of you if it ends up being too much for you.
Oh, girl,
And no
stop!
one will be able to hear you if you try to scream. You sure you want to go down that road, pretty boy?
Wouldn't have it any other way.
He's such trash, girl! The best thing about having my condo so close to the pub is ease of access. As long as I can still stand and walk, I make it home. Maybe I need help from a kinder neighbor or two. Maybe I'd need help from a kind neighbor or two to help me with the last leg if I'd really gone overboard with alcohol. But I always made it home. Sometimes with company. Of course, that always comes with complications, especially with the really clingy ones. But this isn't anything a good tip about stalkers to the building security can't fix. I'm always nervous though, even if this isn't the first time I've done this. And the first few minutes we're in my room are the first few agonizing minutes where I try not to panic. Okay, Max, so good so far. Don't let him smell your fear under all that liquid courage. He'll leave sooner or later, and I'll never have to see him again, just like any other man before him. I'd like to say that to myself. I'd like to say to myself that men I brought to my place were more scared than I was. Yet there was no fear when I looked into Whiskey's eyes, only delight. When he starts touching me, I don't even hesitate when I push him against the door. Roughness is to be expected. And as long as he sticks to the script, everything will go smoothly. We have our little tumble in the sheets, he'll leave, we'll forget about it. If somebody asked what I really wanted, I would have told them that I wanted a bed of roses, chocolates and music, and maybe an Irish castle. But all I really want is her. That's never going to be reality. It's my own fault, of course. Because I was afraid. Because I was a coward. They would never hold a candle up to her. She was the light of my life. And I had to let her go. I can never be bothered at the thought of her. Just a single thought of her makes my resolve to see this affair through waver.
Wait.
What is it now?
Yes, what is it now? What's it gonna be, Marianne? Sex or not? You know, no, we're not sleeping with the C's bag.
We're both drunk.
And
This is wrong. Don't you think it's a bit fucked up that we're about to have sex and we're just calling each other by the drinks that we had?
Actually, I don't think he cares.
How messed up are we?
Doll, shut up with the ethics and morality talk. It is seriously putting me out of the mood.
I think that's the point, Whiskey.
If you want to leave now, Whiskey, I understand. I mean, with how smashed you are, it'd probably be best for you to sleep the night unless you want to be mugged. But I won't stop you. And this isn't going to happen.
Let's see what a relationship I affected with that. I can't believe Luke actually respects that I didn't have sex with him.
Bloody hell.
I just got an achievement called Cock to Block. That's best. Of course, he's annoyed at me for putting off our night of sexual congress, but no means no. And beyond spewing a few profanities under his breath, he surprisingly simmers down soon enough. I was worried for a moment that he might try to force something. Instead, he makes a show of fixing his suit and smoothing down his hair before making himself comfortable on the nearest seat he could find.
What are you doing then? You have a guest in your home. Put the damn kettle on. Dandelion tea if you have it. But I suppose all you have are those shitty tea bags from the store.
It isn't for the absurdity of the turn. If it isn't for the absurdity of this turn of events, I would have flipped them off for thinking I have no taste. But in the end, I just laughed. All I got are cans of Korean ginseng and lemon balm, though no dandelion. Without a second thought, I do the wet the tea. That's 3 minutes in the kettle for a boil. 3 minutes where we say nothing to each other. I mean, what do you say to the guy I was going to sleep with until I changed my mind? I doubt he's in the mood to talk about the influences of Troya's on Mallory. Still, it's still usually by the time we're both seated in my bed with mugs of tea in my hand.
Just so you know, whatever is going on right now is a lot stranger and fucked up than the one night stand.
We are two messed up individuals by your logic.
Everything is messed up, if you ask me. War, terrorism, famine, poverty, loved ones and loved lost. Oh, this whole world is a cesspool.
The dead air is telling when it fills the room once more. One would think that this was the perfect time to burst, to spill about whatever issues made us the fucked up person that we are today. And it is. But I guess some part of me would rather not have put the weight of my problems on someone else's shoulders. It wouldn't be fair to leave that person when I don't even leave it to that person when I don't even know if we'll ever see each other again. Sooner rather than later, we both passed out on my bed, mugs left forgotten on the floor. When I wake up, Whiskey is already gone. A bottle of painkillers and a note on the side of the table were the only evidence I wasn't alone last night. I don't even question where it's from or just how he knew my real name. I'm just grateful for something to help me with the hangover. Might as well. I have a job to do. It isn't often that I think about drinking on the job, but after meeting with the Wrights yesterday, makes me really want to break my self-imposed rule. Because first off, fucking damn Whiskey was fucking damn Mr. Wright. And to top it all off, they had somehow forgotten to inform me that they didn't own the Ermengarde mansion yet when they hired me. What sort of person does that?
Ugh, rich people.
I could do nothing but twiddle my thumbs at this. However, twiddle my thumbs and wait for the go signal. It's not like I can accept It's not like I can accept other small projects. It's a big job. I would need to be ready to start on it at any time. Not to mention that my PA practically begged me to be patient and wait this out. It was a hard decision to agree, but I did so in the end. Besides, I'm doing this for the Armengard Mansion, not for anything or anyone else. I have a headache, whatever. I'll have a headache no matter what I do anyway. I'd go to the pub again, but seeing what happened a few days ago, I'd rather not end up in bed with another potential client. And this might be a huge leap in logic, but a library is the next best thing after the pub. I have to go there anyway. I need more books for Dad. Plus, I also need to return the ones I borrowed last time. Find a new book or two to read to myself while I have nothing to do isn't such a bad idea either. So on Saturday morning, I find myself going to the only library in Luxmorn to hopefully cool off. After returning in a Ruzel and a poetry book by Henry of Podenbrady, I asked the librarian about several titles on my list, though I don't have much to lurk on from that front. Don't have much luck on that front. The dialogue with Death has already been snatched. She bluntly said that she did not keep our mathematical universe for someone who didn't return books on time. I made headway at least when I asked about Siege and Rendition by Havana about Siege and Rendition of Havana by Jacobi de Pizzuza, blah 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 words. If you could count her snarling and pointing at the history section as headway, that is. The history section is devoid of any others except myself and a redhead, though I'd wager to guess the red's just passing by to get to the classical literature section. So many books, so little time. Scanning the books, I see so many wonderful titles that it gives me great pleasure. And that's when I spotted.
Hello, sailor. Why don't you come to Mama?
It's not the naval battle book I was looking for. No, even better. The newly acquired History of Luxmorn Architecture, first edition too. I know I just have to get it. I've been wanting to get my hands on the book for so long. The fact that there's only one copy proves to be problematic when Red reaches out at the same time as I do.
I think I had this first, miss.
Oh really, Becca? I can only stare her down when she refuses to let go of the book. Refusing to let go of it as well, I raise a brow at her in hopes that, in fact, I was significantly taller her would intimidate the girl. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Even then, she refused with a rebellious look.
This isn't exactly light reading, miss. I mean, do you even know which architect was at the forefront of 18th century Irish architecture?
A beat. She blinks, and I can't help the smirk on my face, which is wiped off when she opens her mouth.
Edward Lovett Pierce, who established the Palladian style through his work with Castletown House and the Irish Houses of Parliament.
Damn, girl. Becca's a know-it-all.
This bridge was destroyed in this year to delay French troops while under the regency of Mary of Guise.
This is not what I was expecting. Let's be honest, how many people would know these history facts? Aside from me, anyway.
Going right to the obscure ones, aren't you? Easy enough. Tullybody Old Bridge in Clackmannanshire, Scotland, on the January of 1560, if we want to be specific.
Suddenly, it's a game where we throw these history questions and facts at each other, back and forth, in hushed tones unless we want to be thrown out of the library. After a while, it goes from some straight competition to this strange but friendly banter, if it could be called that. But as fun as it is, the exchange soon slows down until we're grinning at how odd this whole scene
Marianne
is.
McCulloch, my desire for potatoes doesn't quite match what the stereotypes suggest.
Rebecca Gales, the Scots' supposed hatred for the English wasn't enough to stop me from teaching their little spawns.
By then, we had forgotten our little tug of war, although she still holds the book in her hands. I had let go of it without realizing it when she answered my first question.
History teacher, then?
Got it in one.
No wonder you gave me a run for my money. Now, if we're talking about architecture, I'd blow you out of the water. You're from where? Luxburn Uni?
Oh no, just St. Goretti's.
Ah yes, St. Goretti's. You think a school would choose a more appropriate saint to name themselves after, especially when they have very, very, very young
And
students.
I'm guessing you're an architect, if you're so confident about the subject.
Interior designer, Miss Gales.
Please, just call me Rebecca. You aren't one of my students, are you?
Marianne, then.
I could have said that I was an architect, but there was no point in explaining why I wasn't one anymore.
So, I've never seen you before. I'd like to think I've met every history aficionado in town.
I blame the rock I've been hiding under, of course. That, and I'm usually only here on the weekdays if time allows. Work often has me meeting clients on the weekends.
That must be interesting work.
It allows for some creative freedom, sure. But it's like working with children sometimes. Though you probably have it harder working with actual children.
I don't know about that. The rights are pretty. Luke is pretty. Yeah.
The hardest part is convincing them that your idea is their idea.
That sounds exciting.
It is!
But isn't that true for any workplace, though? We just cross our fingers and hope there aren't any man-children in charge of important things. Any big projects right now? I can't imagine that interior designing is a frequent thing.
I'm working on the Ermengarde mansion. Lucky me. That mansion. Intach. Wonderful. Breathtaking. I can't wait to start in it.
Go touch yourself in a corner? Yes.
Now that is beautiful architecture.
A pause. It looks like she wants to say something when she meant something at my mention of the house. I'm not surprised. The place is certainly popular with the locals, especially the urban legends attached to it. In the next second, though, she seems to think better of it and drops what she's about to say.
So, do you have a portfolio or anything I can take a look at? I'd love to see your designs. Maybe you have some on a tablet. I've met some designers before, and they're always going crazy over these virtual room apps or another.
A tablet? Please. Callicrates didn't need those silly iTabs when he built the Parthenon. I certainly don't need one to design a house.
The computer back in my place is all I have. Why should I buy such an expensive gadget that will only get outdated within the year when when what I have is just is functional? The traditional ways had a far more personal touch, in my opinion. Not to mention that those smartphones are awful tools of procrastination. I can't even count on one hand the number of people I've seen going outside only to have their eyes glued to the thing. I can agree with her on that. People are obsessed with their phones, and I think it's fucked up. I will admit that I have Kindle on my phone, so that's about the extent of how much I look at mine. Which is not often. When I'm not using it for work, I don't use it. And fuck touchscreens. The evil things make typing, or what should have been a simple task, harder.
I do have an online portfolio if you'd like. I can...
Speaking or thinking of the devil it seems to have summoned, before I can even carry on, Rebecca's attention wanes as she pulls out her mobile phone. For what I can only assume is a call, she gives me an apologetic look before standing up and excusing herself. Off farther into the aisle she goes for some privacy. I do my best to give it to her as well, trying to tune her out.
Well, is something wrong? Lunch at the coffee house? Sure, I can make it. I'm not too far. I can be there in 10.
But with how quiet the surrounding is, she can't blame me if I overhear snippets of her conversation. When she returns, a sheepish look on her face, I know our friendly chat has to be cut short.
Sorry, I have to go and meet with some friends.
It's fine. Totally fine. No need to even apologize.
About the book.
Her embarrassment increases twofold when she realizes she's still holding a history of Luxborn architecture. I don't give her time to think about it as I put a hand up and shake my head, fishing out a pen and paper in my bag. Along with my business card, I hand it over to her.
You know, I'm busy with work, so I might not even be able to take a peek at it anytime soon. You can go ahead and have it. But you'll have to ring me up when you're returning it just so I can snag it right away. Deal?
She makes quick work, pinning her number down and handing it back to me with a grin.
Deal. Just message me during school hours, of course. You have a good day then.
Is this love
You two.
that I'm seeing? With Rebecca gone, I'm left alone standing in the history section. Although my original plan was simply to sit down and read a good book, our little pop quiz, if you could call it that, made time pass by without any of us realizing it. It was fun, and I do believe I made a new friend. Good job, Marianne. Yeah, good job, Marianne. Even with the talk of lunch, however, I don't feel like grabbing a bite to eat. There are still other books to read, and I'm hoping to find something that will help me while I work with the rights. Something like How to Deal with Assholes Professionally 101, just in case. I've dealt with a lot of uppity, snooty, rich clients before, but it's still better to be safe than sorry. Because Luke Wright just takes the fucking cake, and he probably managed to eat it too. It seems like the world is conspiring to keep me from my little me time as my mobile vibrates in my pocket the moment I find something from the shelves of the classical literature section.
Marianne McCulloch, Charlie Rose Design speaking.
Hey, it's Rose! Rest in peace, Rose.
Rose Cooper here, Miss McCullough. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time or anything. But I just wanted to check in and tell you that we've got the clear to hand over the documents. Madam Wright told us that we should forward the floor plans to you.
Already? How did they go through the process so fast? Ash. Surely there are so many red tape to even acquire the forms to transfer in the rights. No matter how rich the rights are, it shouldn't be this quick, right?
So, if I can just have your email, I'll be sending them your way.
I'd actually like a physical copy of the floor plans.
Oh, I suppose that's fine. I'm not at the office right now, but I can inform Miss Santos of your request.
I'll make sure to drop by the office after lunch if that's fine.
Not a problem. Right. Well, cheers.
Right. Cheers.
I don't know. I just don't. There's some sort of deeper miscommunication when... Is there some sort of deeper miscommunication when we last met? These sorts of things take time. It's been, what, a day? Less than that even? There isn't even a point in trying to make sense of these people who seem to be bigger than life. As it looks like I'm on the clock starting today, I might as well eat. Grabbing some fish and chips from one of the street food stalls, I find a table and spend the time copying the Marquise de Sade's Crime of Love since Rebecca left with the book I wanted. I've read this one before, along with the rest of his works. This will be the 18th time, in fact. But it's always nice to read through it again when I don't have time to enjoy something new. Besides, when you're dealing with people so filthy rich that they just end up playing filthy, you need the good old Marquise sound
La
advice.
blessure se trouvant sans aucune sorte de conséquence.
The wound being without any consequence. Of course, it's folly to think that things have no consequence when everything actually does. Briar Realty Corporation, Luxbourne branch, isn't too far from the city center, just a few blocks away, and I can easily eat and walk. I'd rather use this time to rest before I go into a flurry of activity. No doubt there will be so much to do once we get our hands on the mansion.
Still a lot better than working on another condo, at least.
Surely, no matter how much the BRC and the old owners put into the restoration and the preservation of the place, any big repairs would be superficial at most. I'm quite certain that in their haste to sell the property, they did a rush job, and it isn't an infrequent thing to do despite how it is frowned upon. There'll be a lot of hidden issues that I need to weed out, and I'll have to make sure that every single one of them, especially more serious damage. Structural integrity is definitely on the top of the list, and we will have no consideration. And we will have... God, words. I got distracted trying to read that. Structural integrity is definitely the top of the list we'll have to consider. The building might look sturdy, but it is centuries old. That alone would likely pose a few problems here and there, put limitations on what we can do. Besides, despite how much I detest these rich snobs, they can pay rather handsomely. So as long as I do an excellent job and do more than necessary. Two things have been always made sure The referrals keep coming. I don't even have to hunt down projects for myself. When I do go up to BRC's office, I can't help but stop and stare as I enter the building. With the lunch hour closing, employees have been should have been already back if they were still aren't filtering through the doors. I get that it's Saturday. The people probably feel tired and lazy and are working on the weekend, but they're still on the clock and now bumming around wasting the company's time on extended lunch breaks and cigarette sessions. The office is spacious, as it is with these big corporations. Each person has their little space of what's usually a 2x2 meter cubicle. There is a lot more empty chairs than there is actually people working at their desk. Reminds me far too much of my last day at Kova's projects during the massive layoff due to our economic crisis. But it isn't just that though. Everything as far as quiet as a grave. It is as if these people are merely ghosts. Speaking of ghosts, Santos comes through the door looking as though she's just seen one. She did just see one. You just don't know that yet, but she's seen one. She looks at me wide-eyed like a deer caught in headlights, ready to bolt at any moment. I'd ask out of concern, but I feel it's not my position to do so. What if it's something personal? I'd simply overstep my boundaries. Really, it's none of my business.
I presume that Miss Cooper told you why I'm here, Miss Santos?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just got back from lunch, you know? But it won't take too long. Don't worry.
Of course it won't. This whole project has established itself to be a matter done in haste. I do hope it doesn't mean that people are being careless in their duties.
What did she do to you? She flinches and looks like she doesn't quite know how to respond to that. Thankfully, instead of opening her mouth, she just leads the way towards her station and goes to fetch the floor plan. It won't take too long, she said, but it does take a bit. Time spent to compose herself, most likely.
You know, we usually just email these things.
I prefer the real thing.
Not that you would know. You probably have your nose stuck in front of that smartphone when you're not working, even when you should be working, playing those mindless activity games. Yeah, no, she's not. She's not. I definitely wish Chris would stop playing that Batcat thingy during work hours,
I know
too.
what you mean. Digital painting is nice, but nothing beats the smell of real paint. Not that I go and smell paint like a crazy person, but, you know, the real thing is different.
Wait, what?
Yes, nothing is quite like the real thing.
Checking out the floor plans, I see that they have a lot going for me. Now I know what Ray felt like when he found the Central Park West building floor plans from that one movie. This is why I became an art tech in the first place. Jacobian style is the finest, a thing of beauty. Looking at these gorgeous rooms, the delicate harmony between the empty space. And speaking of empty spaces, there's something rather odd about these ones.
I feel a bit silly saying it out loud because I've never lived in a big house, let alone a mansion. But during the tour, I had the distinct impression that the rooms were bigger. Maybe the scale is wrong? It's not much of a problem, and it is an old house.
There had been little details here and there that I would have liked to address during the open house too. It was all forgotten in the wake of Miss Santos's incident and the trouble with ownership. The wine cellar is going to be a problem. I shudder to think of what sort of repairs they did in that place. There might have been things that were swept under the rug, pushed into the dark corners of the rooms, stay hidden away in barrels, water damage that could have been covered up. There had been floods due to heavy rains in West England just last year, after all, and if there's any sort of damage to the house foundation, that's going to be a lot of work. I was not able to look at the attic as well. For all I know, the whole families of vermin could have made their nest there. Working with pest control is always the worst. The sheer size of this place is staggering, even if I did just say it's a lot smaller than I thought. I might just be biting off more than I can chew, but who doesn't like a good challenge? First things first, I have to.
So, do you want a coffee? The one from the staff room is pretty decent.
There's really no need. I'm sure you have rules against it.
Rules against bringing someone coffee? That's ridiculous. And even if there were regulations against it, nobody's really here to tell Sir John. I've already brought 2 mugs, and I'm not going to drink them on my own. Come on.
I have to stamp down my annoyance of being distracted. Seeing the woman though, looks like she's had a lot on her mind. If babbling is her way of dealing with stray thoughts, I'm not really the one she should be babbling to. Yeah, but she's a sweetheart. I can't be mean to her. I know what she's been through. I give her time to speak. But when she just stares, I clear my throat.
Yes? You have something to say?
See, there we go. We got our relationship with her back up. As embarrassment creeps into her face, I snatch one of the coffees from her hand and take a sip. Too hot.
Just thinking and speaking off the record, it must be fun what you do. You go to people's houses and you make them, well, pretty. You're sharing your art with them.
It's a little bit more complex than that. But if you put it that way, it is fun. I wouldn't have done it for 7 years if it wasn't a little bit fun, I guess.
These big clients always have paintings in their homes. Do you have a supplier for art pieces?
I didn't expect to hear such a question from her, seeing how well she handled herself yesterday. I didn't doubt when she, then why she'd been assigned to an important sale like the Armengard Mansion despite the little accident she had. Now she just looks too young, too nervous, and unsure of herself, although her enthusiasm must make up for it in spades. In fact, I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself the way she had. I wouldn't have believed it if she had introduced herself the way she is at the moment. Why? Watching her now, she actually looks like she should still be in college. Actually, she should still be in college. Acts a little bit like it too when I think about it. I thought she was a teen slumming it out in the mansion when I first saw her there, lying on the ground. Surprise, surprise, she turned out to be one of the agents handling the property.
Clients usually support artists of their own choice. If they don't, I'm always happy to refer those that I know.
That's cool.
They're very picky. I don't think a hobbyist will have an easy time getting their work sold.
Hey, I'll have you know I was a student of the fine arts.
And yet here you are, selling property. Maybe you weren't a very fine student of the arts.
Why you gotta be a bitch to my girl, man? Maybe I took that a bit too far. She bites her cheek and looks like she can barely hold herself back.
It's not like I had a choice.
She mutters it under her breath. I barely even hear it. But the hurt is there, and it makes one wonder what brought it on. Although it's understandable if her reasons what I think it is. You people make it in the big in the art world. I can see why she'd be upset about it with that enthusiasm. I didn't have a choice when I left Ireland. It was that or years of unemployment, and the recession that the toll took on the construction industry was out of anyone's control. I don't know what choice she wasn't able to make, whether it was about her being in art school or something else, but the world isn't a fair place, and the sooner she accepts that, the better. Still, with the forlorn look on her face, I can't help but sigh. The girl reminds me far too much of myself when I was younger.
Well, if you're thinking of commissioning your paintings, I'll have to see your work first.
She ain't all bad.
It's not. I didn't mean it like that. I don't have any paintings.
Really? You sounded a lot like you still did art or want to. Now I'm starting to worry that you might just like the smell of paint.
I'm not a paint huffer, sheesh. I just mean I don't make much anymore. I don't really have the time for it. The tools and materials aren't exactly cheap either.
Everything has a price. It sounds like you're making excuses for something you're presumably passionate about. If you really want to practice art, a little out of your wallet isn't much.
It's not that simple.
It's not? Life's simple. People just like to make it complex. Speaking off the record, I have some advice for you, kid. Either go for what you want, or stop thinking about it when you have something else. That is unless you enjoy making yourself miserable, then by all means.
You know, if you wanted to look at the floor plans without me bothering you, you could have just said so.
Would you have left me alone?
Yes.
We'll never know now, will we?
A strained air settles in the room afterwards. Poor girl. Poor Bella. Poor Isabella didn't deserve that. She's just being nice, lady. She's just being nice to you. Why you gotta be mean? It doesn't help that she doesn't immediately leave, as she said, lingering awkwardly by the door with a downcast expression. It's clear there's more she means to say, perhaps to defend herself and her choices in life, or she's expecting me to dish out more of that advice. It's an awkward affair. I choose to hightail it out of the realty office as quickly as I can. Though I am able to keep myself professional at all times doesn't mean I like it. And seeing that most of the day has already gone by before I realize it, I choose to head back to my flat instead. Despite today's being Saturday, no fun, but at least this way I can definitely avoid another unpleasant encounter. Considering how much I'll be seeing Whiskey in the near foreseeable future, I have a feeling I'll need all the rest this weekend can give me. For the first time in a long time, excited as I am to work on the mansion, I cannot wait to be over and done with this project. Money couldn't come soon enough, any sooner. After taking the floor plans from Miss Santos the day before last, I spent most of my Sunday drawing up plans and calling my suppliers. Though no design choices have been made yet, I'm quite sure that they'll want high-end appliances, the most expensive materials, and the most pretentious everything. They usually did, these rich types, based from experience at least. Given how badly this whole thing started, it wouldn't hurt to be prepared. I have to check myself. Make sure I'm not playing with my gloves as one of the other building tenants takes the elevator up with me. It makes me self-conscious when the woman's eyes go over me. I'm sure she was going to point out some previous flaw in my physical appearance. But I'm saved from being a paranoid when they flew off a few floors later. Still, the ride up to my floor was nerve-wracking. The Wrights live at the very top, the penthouse, the creme de la creme when it comes to the condominium and urban living. Just getting access to the place is an ordeal in itself. I had to jump so many hoops, so many security checks just to secure a key card. Not only because the building management, because the Wrights' personal security. It sometimes felt like I'm being interrogated for a crime and not visiting a client in their home. When their personal assistant called in to help out and verify my presence, the process is aggravated rather than hastened. Speaking of the devil, the elevator door opens and I am greeted by none other than Whiskey's not so little lackey.
I do apologize if I kept Mr. and Mrs. Wright waiting, but I'm here now and I'm ready, so if I may, where are they?
They've just woken up, but they should be down soon. I'm surprised to see you made it through security, and only 5 minutes late.
You said I'd be through security soon, and it took half an hour. Define soon in this context.
I'd make myself comfortable if I were you. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
About the tea, I don't want to intrude or anything.
The sir does not like being woken up by the whistling. But who am I to deny tea to a guest?
Johannes is the best. Thank you, Hansi. He shows me to the couch before drifting towards the kitchen, quietly putting out a teapot, cups, and all sorts of other things in preparation for tea. I ignore the animosity towards his employer that his words implied. I wouldn't be too surprised if Whiskey's own people don't like him. Accepting the quiet isolation instead, I brace myself for whatever's to come. In this case, soon apparently means more than 5 minutes, or even 10. I sit in the living room just waiting. And when the kettle starts to whistle and the tea has been served, I continue to wait. At least the silence is relaxing, but then there's a crash. I nearly spill tea all over my lap in surprise as I look up, expecting security to come running. Even the man in the kitchen and the counter continues to fix breakfast like he heard nothing. I don't want to speak up because he looks far too absorbed in his cooking and I don't want to be the cause of burnt food or worse. However, there's something in me that just wants to figure out what it was. Although I am normally not this nosy. You know what? No, we're not gonna be lazy. We're gonna wait. I think we're gonna wait. I have no business with it. These rich people usually value their privacy above all else, after all. Unless, of course, they're posting pictures on social media bragging about what good people they are to allow themselves to be interviewed for some magazine. Then again, the whole reason I'm in this mess is because I don't still give two shits about what goes on with people like them. And I'm not going to get caught snooping about just to be accused of some imagined wrongdoing. I'm not going to be some busybody detective wannabe and run off and investigate whatever it was. It was probably something mundane anyway, like a lamp falling over. I'm just gonna sit here and wait for Miss Wright. My tea. Complete silence.
Could I at least put the telly on?
I don't really expect him to answer. If he hadn't heard the crash, I doubt he would have heard me.
As long as you don't watch some silly soap opera.
How dare you! The Young and the Restless are on!
The LBC News would be fine. The William Walker Show is on too if you prefer that. Not that I watch it, but my husband does. The remote is under the coffee table.
Oh, sure. Maybe I'll be lucky and catch the doc on. I heard they're having reruns of the classics and I want to see the second meet sixth in Spain. If not, just the news then. Thank you. I'll let you get on with your cooking now.
Did he just ignore the crash a while ago? He totally did. Whatever. Fetching the remote, I turn the TV on in hopes of filling the silence. Trying to, anyway, because the thing won't turn on, and it doesn't make the silence. Doesn't that make the silence more awkward or what? I know I might not be the best with tech, but I'm sure I can work a simple television remote.
The batteries must be dead.
Oh shit! What? There's blood everywhere. Help me, it says in red. I look at my own hands and find them clean, yet I can see my grisly reflection gaping back at me. And though there is nothing staining my skin, I can still feel the sticky, warm feeling of blood dripping down my cheeks. I should be worried. Instead, I feel my attention drawn towards her. Her beauty, blonde hair, soft lips, with skin so fair and swaying hips. I want nothing more than to hold her, plant my lips on her neck, and run my fingers through her hair. She laughs, she smiles when she looks at me, but where are her eyes? Temptation is gone in an instant and I recoil, horrified at this reflection I am seeing. Only to back into something, or rather someone. Miss Wright stands there, twirling a lock of her blonde hair, a soft smile on her lips and hands on her hip. I almost back away, but I'm grounded and remind myself that this is my client. And whatever I just saw, well, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say it was perhaps I'm going a bit daft. It would be preferable, of course, to think that this is all a trick of the light or the makings of an overactive imagination.
Good morning, Mrs. Wright. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Have you been standing there long?
No, I just came down and saw you were having a hard time with the telly. We must have forgotten to change the batteries. Are you all right, dear? You're looking a bit pale. Haven't you had breakfast yet?
No, I'm fine. I had breakfast already, Mrs. Wright. I just need...
Well then, you mustn't have had enough breakfast. I'm all for a good diet, but that's the most important meal of the day. Johans is cooking up pancakes. Pancakes will make anyone feel better, he always says. We can sit down and tuck in. You'll feel right as rain once we get some fluffy, syrupy goodness in you. And are you sure you're fine, Marianne? You're shaking.
Looking down at my hands, I can see them trembling. Really? Just because she looks so much like her? I'm becoming a damn train wreck. I've been seeing her in my dreams and hearing her voice ever since I met Miss Wright at the mansion. With so many blondes in the world, what is different with her?
I just remembered something, that's all. It's nothing to worry about.
Are you sure? I am all ears if there is something bothering you. I don't mind a good story, and I don't want it to affect your work performance.
Gossipy wagon, isn't she? She should just leave you alone. It's not like you need her.
The hell?
You don't have to worry about that, Mrs. Wright. I say business stays business, and anything else can stay in the doghouse until I'm done with work.
I just have to bear with it though, don't I? I have to bear through it, don't I? If I tell her that I'm hearing voices, that'll be fast tracked straight to the nut house. What else can I do? Saint yeah. Help me, lest I become like her father, Damon, insane at the thought of lost love and mad in the pursuit of another.
Shall we talk about your work then?
If you'd like. It's on your time, after all.
I've been told many good things about you, and I've seen some of your work before. Others speak very highly of your work etiquette. Yet I've never heard of you before. Not even a whisper of the McCullough name.
Well, I've only been in Luxbourne for 4 years. Tried to make it big in London for nearly 3 years before. And I've only been working these high-quality projects for the past year.
I stick straight to the point. Best to be brief when talking to clients, after all. Keep it clean cut as much as possible. Yet at the same time, I have to make it engaging so it doesn't look like I don't want to talk to
I
them.
imagine it hasn't been easy. I can't see why you've moved from London to Luxbourne, though.
Job vacancies were fewer at the time, and I had a lot of competition in London. Let's not even talk about the living costs there. But I'm glad I moved here, even if it hadn't been smooth sailing. If I had it easy, I probably wouldn't be working projects like these.
Why even bother explaining to her? She won't understand. She's practically born with a silver spoon in her mouth.
The fuck? What?
The woman could probably snap her fingers and have servants attending to her beck and call.
She does look the part of a spoiled hairless, doesn't she? It would be a relief if she was just that. Something that's different from Miss Wright and her. Before she can get another word in, words that may have proven me wrong or right, she looks up at the loft with a fond expression on her face. With just a simple glance, she can put so much love. I feel a tad bit jealous of whoever holds it.
Good morning, Luke, darling.
Good morning, ladies.
What's up,
what a
asshole?
wonderful morning it is that I wake up to such a beautiful sight. I do hope you two are getting along. I smell pancakes. I do hope you two are considering a diet just so I can have them all to myself.
Don't be a pig, Luke. You eat all of those and you might stop fitting into your tight suits.
What? I'm not a pig. You don't think I'm a pig, do you, Marianne?
With a saucy smile and playful wink, I can't help but think you're a bit of a pig. You are a bit of a pig, Whiskey.
I don't know, Mr. Wright. I'm an interior designer, not a zoologist.
The only styles she must be familiar with are statement of works.
Ha! But terrible joke.
Well, don't be a bore. You two might not be in a rush, but I'm going to go ahead and feast.
If you dawdle too long, he'll hog all the syrup.
Rich people are so eccentric.
Come on then, we can discuss business over food.
There was no denying the clients when they invite me over to the table. Though it's too personal to share a meal in their home, it probably would be terribly rude to to ignore their invitation. Besides, the pancakes did look like they smelled heavenly. Oh my god. Holy cow, those pancakes look good. Blueberries and raspberries too? Oh baby. A bowl of clotted cream, fruit, syrups, jam, and other spreads are laid out before them, making a colorful arrangement. If this was a brunch with friends, I would have gladly helped myself to the whole lot. But as it is, I am accepted just a few pieces of pancake topped off with lemon and sugar.
You know, I was a tiny bit serious when I said I wanted a helipad.
And you're not serious about the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables?
Well, I do want those too, but I know you'll agree to those.
We're talking about interiors here, honey. You don't handle exterior designs and whatever handles those sorts of projects do you, Marianne?
I'm able, actually, and willing to take a project of that nature. I was an architect in Ireland before. Of course, that's another contract entirely. I also suggest we finish the house itself before working on any additions to the rest of the property. There won't be any problems about ownership this time, will there? Pardon if I'm crossing a line, but the acquisition was rather quick.
Oh, don't you worry. We've got everything sorted this time around. I've talked to Miss Cooper and Mr. John from BRC, as well as the old owners. Everything has been paid in full, and all we're waiting for is the paperwork from the land registry. They're letting us move in as soon as we please. It's not like they were living there in the first place.
That's good to hear.
The problems that could arise from renovating another person's home would be... well, let's not dwell on it. First off, we'll want to know how you want the place to look. It's pretty furnished as is, but I understand if you want to modernize the whole thing.
Actually, I'd prefer to keep the place looking as it is, but at the same time, I want modern appliances. You worked on the Ludgate's Christchurch summer residence. I do remember there being an oven I thought was a simple drawer before. Make them look vintage, antique, blend in with the rest of the decor.
Customize appliances then. I can't find someone for that, and if you can't tell me what you specifically want, it'll hasten up the process. We're talking about electronic appliance manufacturers. If you have a preferred brand to work with.
Splendid! So, what is next on our agenda? All the other interior designers we've hired in the past did not have us this involved.
I stopped. What sort of half-baked designer was that? Did that? If I knew who they were, I would have words. This isn't the time or the place, however. Instead, I use a brief pause to pull out the floor plans I brought with me.
We'll have to figure out what you want to do with the rooms. Here, we can have a quick run through.
What is that little room next to the master's bedroom?
Oh, as far as I could tell when I saw it, it's a second bedroom of sorts. Used, apparently, for the ladies in waiting who has served Lady Charlotte Ermengarde, which is strange, as that isn't the norm for these sorts of houses.
Well, we're not stuffing Johans in there. He won't fit. You don't suppose we could turn it into a walk-in closet and a dressing room?
I love fashion, but do we really need to turn an entire room into a walk-in closet, dear? We'll have large closets and a wardrobe in the bedroom already.
Says the one who takes 3/5 of our closet. Well, what do you suggest we do with it?
I thought a utility room of some sort would be nice. A craft room where I can do fun things. Or maybe a children's room might be nice. You know, for when Kylie comes over. Or if Rochelle visits once she's had a baby.
1, you are not inviting that witch. And 2, there's a whole mansion for Kylie to play in. We don't need a children's room, and you don't even do arts and crafts. I'd like to turn the guest's room and the study into my personal office, by the way, if you don't mind.
You can turn it into a personal office if I can have my utility room. It's just the one room of the many. I'm taking that room for myself, no matter what you say, dearie. So you might as well take this deal. You're always out doing business anyway. The real problem is the theater. Whatever are we going to do with all that space?
Where's the theater? Hallway, master bedroom, quarters. Why do you... I don't understand rich people. I'm not even gonna pretend like I do.
Fine, we could turn it into our own personal cinema, I suppose. Might as well have it, if you plan on not having a telly in the parlor.
Yes, well, I don't want guests to be glued to the telly when they come over for a meal and some tea. By the looks of things, we can keep the rooms as what they are on the ground floor, though. The ballroom would be perfect for parties.
Do we really need a dining hall, though? I don't suppose we can't convert it into a garage.
What for? You can park your cars outside.
What about that room? Right there, in the northeast corner.
That's sleeping quarters for the household help?
Oh, that is perfect! Johans will be glad if we have other staff members who stayed in. It'd be convenient so they don't have to make the trip from Luxbourne to the mansion when they're needed.
You'll definitely need a lot more people to maintain a property of this size.
The mansion is really a lot bigger than I thought. Look at all these rooms. I didn't even know there was a music room next to the parlor because of what happened.
There was a grand piano in there too, when we checked during the tour.
Did you hear that, Luke? Maybe you can take up playing the piano again. Oh, you should have seen him when we were younger, Marianne.
It's not like I was very good with the thing.
Oh, hush you. You were no Mozart, but I loved hearing you play nonetheless.
They are sweet when they're like this, but Luke's such an asshat.
He'd come over to my home and he'd play such fun tunes. He'd sing too, and I'd dance, and it was just...
Mr. Wright played the piano. I can't imagine it. But the earnest way in which Mrs. Wright says so told otherwise.
Anyway, what do you think of these plans, Marianne?
Are we not even going to consider one of my requests? Not even just a closet or just a garage? Now, that isn't fair, is it? You're not the only one who's going to be living here.
Yeah, but you got a vineyard, you got the wine cellar, you got the garden, and something else. Like, you got a whole bunch of shit, dude. You're good. This is what she asked
I
for.
hardly see how that's unfair. I told you
Oh, yeah, they
you're
offer
getting your
some
office
greenhouse,
and your
yeah.
theater, the greenhouse, the vineyard, and the stables. That sounds fair, does it not, Marianne?
Actually, no, it doesn't sound fair for you, but yeah, I feel like it's fair. He's got a lot of shit. Miss Wright has her points, though I really didn't want to butt into the spat of a husband and wife. But the way I see it, the two were looking at me. I might as well just keep the facts instead of giving my
Mr. Wright,
opinion.
your plan isn't quite feasible from an architectural perspective. I'm not even sure how much we can do without closer inspection. Well, the one about the garage, at least. A walk-in closet is easy enough, but the garage?
See, a garage isn't architecturally feasible, and it isn't going to be financially sound as well. We're already going to spend a lot on your other requests. You have several acres of land to park on already.
What? Did you calculate that on the fly? Financially sound my foot. You're probably just thinking up of imaginary numbers.
Might I remind you that I was a financial manager? I also looked over and approved the expenses of our other houses. I know the rough cost of these things by now, love. Masters in business administration, major in accounting. Sometimes I think you forget that I'm not as dumb as I act.
Damn, I wasn't expecting her to be that blunt with it in front of me. What catches my attention more than anything is the sound, and it sounds more unbelievable than Whiskey playing the piano. She really didn't just seem like the type.
Business administration and accounting? What university?
Luxborn U, of course. Go Lux Dragons, red and gold.
Excuse me, how about we move on this chit-chat ahead and do whatever else needs to be done sometime today? I had to cancel my appointments for this, you know.
Yeah, whatever, Luke. You know, not me down too far with Luke, and it's got Hannah up, and Hannah's really what matters to me. Because fuck Luke. I care about all these people, not so much the asset. You see, I even like Marianne more, because Marianne seems nice right now. Actually, I didn't look at her profile. Let's look at her profile. Marianne, because I looked at Zach last time. Marianne. She is 30 years old. July 14 is her birthday. She's a Cancer. She's 5'11". That is tall. That is tall. Not as tall as I was expecting. Tall. Former architect, Irish, Roman Catholic, bachelor's in arts, architecture, likes chocolate, cats, classical music, country music, karaoke, board games, video games, anime. Oh my god, she's oh, I love this woman. She is nice. Look at the kitty. They even put a sketch of the kitty there. Come on, guys, it's awesome. Left in a dumpster. Oh, poor thing. Left in a dumpster as a baby. She was found by a peddler and spent most of her childhood roaming the countrysides in a beat-up van. Her father taught her how to read, write, and pray. Though in unconventional life, it was all she knew. Child welfare and protection eventually caught on and required that she have proper education. She was provided with a scholarship to St. Samanthan School for young ladies and was bullied for being a charity kid. Marianne only had one friend and she mostly focused on her studies. Intent on graduating and returning to her father. Shame he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's soon after. Aww. Her work as an architect in Ireland lasted until the Irish economic crisis. She moved to England after some time in Luxborn to search for a better career and opportunities. That's so sad. Rebecca's next. Ashton and so I'm getting on in the story here.
We might as well do a proper inspection with the designer this time, just to get it out of the way.
Yes, no time like the present. You want a thorough inspection? Might as well do it now. We actually took another look at the property yesterday, though it was brief. But I'm sure you would want to see it yourself, to spot anything we might have missed.
It's not like I have much of a choice, do I?